Mark and I talked about after we kind of debriefed just about self-governing. You know, like what people were seeing in Mark, what I was seeing in Mark, is the culmination of years of self-government. The idea is that there is this realm of walking in connection and doors open and people hear you. And since we're talking systematically, thinking systematically, the people that we're talking to recognize the authority and the strength because we sound like mechanics. We don't sound like the lobbyists coming to their doors, whether it's lobbyists that are paid or just people that are coming in there just to beg them for something, you know? We come there with a whole different perspective. It's almost, for them, it's probably like, you know, a Jedi walked in the room.
Our main point to them was that non-government organizations are mobilizing the executive branch outside of their legislative authority. We've handed them a packet, and as they were going through the packet, we were basically outlining in 12 sections CSG's timeline of events, our statement on the political weaponization of labels, and then our statement on Southern Poverty Law Center, and specifically how we were harmed by them labeling us anti-government. There is several bombshells. One is there is an individual from a major airline who alleges that SPLC was consulted on no-fly list by the Department of Homeland Security. And that's a bombshell because you have a non-government organization outside congressional authority being consulted on whether or not Americans can travel or not, based on their private labels, definitions, and lists. And that's what Senator Lee was responding to. He's like, this is a bombshell.
This is a bombshell.
And we were talking specifically about a young lady who gave us an incredible testimony at an affidavit that alleges some collusion between DHS and SPLC.
The same was true when we met with the Judiciary Committee's counsel. We met with their two attorneys, and they were very thankful for the professionalism of our document. They were taking furious notes, and I think that's kind of want to reiterate is that all of them were taking furious notes because our research, our data, our evidence, it was professional, it was quick, we were concise, we were not all over the place. Follow the Constitution, follow the Constitution. No, we were very targeted, very specific.
The investigator for the Committee on Homeland Security and the policy director are hearing this story, and they're like, just their eyes are like frying pans because they can't believe what's actually taking place. It was really intense, guys. I'm nobody really, but watching these people listen to us intently and take notes, not just giving us sophistry and a wave of the hand to dismiss us. And, you know, oh yeah, we'll get to that. Talk to my so-and-so. Here's my card. Call my legislative. None of that. It was pretty intense.
I thought extremely beneficial to the cause. It was an interesting experience to see how Washington really works. I felt we made our biggest gains with some of the staffers that we dealt with. Mark and I and Zoe and Skylar, we briefed the Homeland Security subcommittee staffers, as well as Mark and I briefed the Judiciary Committee staffers, and they were extremely receptive, took a lot of good notes, I think, and I think that's where the work's going to get done. Extremely impressed with Mike Lee, really enjoyed meeting him. Harriet Hageman is a warrior, and really enjoyed meeting her too. But all around a great experience.
Hi. I was just so impressed with the prep work that you guys did, and the packet, literally like a binder that was published and with tabs and easy for these legislators to look at. And you could just tell that immediately there was respect in their eyes when Mark or Zoe introduced our group, you know, said we're from multiple states, we're all dressed up, we're all nice, nobody's Nobody's excited. And we're here with a packet of solutions to our concerns. And just the power in that my takeaway was be prepared. And when you think you're prepared, go over and get even more prepared, because I've been in legislator meetings before, but I have to say, I've never handed them a packet with so much research. So I'm very impressed with this organization I'm part of, and when Mark talks about all this stuff, sometimes, I don't know about you guys, but it's like a lot. And so I have to hear it a lot, and I have to read it over and over. And so I definitely could not have verbalized myself in such a powerful way that Mark did. But like with all of us there, I felt like I actually was being trained. I encourage anybody to go lobbying with CSG people and, do this, because it just really upped my game as far as the thinking about how successful a meeting can be. And when the legislators started getting out their notepad and taking notes down and saying, can you repeat again? And Mark says it starts with the labels, and, it starts with the labels. It's like they were literally getting talking points and saying, I want to follow up. I need more talking points. So really, I felt like there was no time that I had been in a political meeting that was so powerful and influential. So thank you, guys.
Be prepared. That's awesome. That's the number one takeaway. And because you're prepared, you can have powerful meetings.
It was amazing because I've been a part of CSG for a couple of years now, known about CSG for a number of years, quite some time, and I've always been really excited by it, and I've always looked up to Mark and felt like it was all amazing, and I was all behind it. But to go in and walk those halls and knock on a door and have that response that Joy was referring to from these guys that we look up to and women that we look up to. We had to really on both sides. We had some really neat conversations. It was really it felt like we had learned the pathways of the brain of the government, and then we were walking through the mind of the government as we walked those halls and saw the names on the plaques, and then knocked on the doors, and then people made themselves accessible. It gave me hope for our nation. It made me go, man, the media, I've really fallen for this idea that we've lost everything, because we haven't. Us as citizens, we just need to get actually involved and do exactly what Ben Franklin committed us to do, to keep it. And it's a matter of us being lazy that's the problem in the last little while. And it doesn't take very many either. It just us 8 walking those halls. I really, we already are seeing that people are responding to it, and it will continue to get greater and greater. I could talk about it. I know there's a couple people, but to still talk about it. But it was phenomenal, and it was really neat to have my son there with me. He was very enlightened and excited, but I'll hand it over to Liam.
Yeah. So I think my favorite part was probably learning about what Mark explained at the beginning. I didn't know about that stuff, and that was just pretty cool. And just being able to see what Joy explained, like they literally took out notepads and asked us to repeat it. It was really cool. And we also had some really fun experiences as a group. And it was just really cool to watch. I didn't do very much. I think it was more Mark and Zoe that did most of the work, and it was just cool to watch them and to learn from them. So I think that's
great, bud.
Outstanding. Thank you, Lex and Liam. Amazing. So that's great to hear, Liam. You learned POLG on this trip, and it was a good trip to learn it too, because every room we went to, we were reiterating it, and repetition's the key to knowledge. So that's really great. And we learned the pathways of the brain of the governing. I love that lesson.
I don't get the credit. That was Glenda Hill. I just loved that. It really described it for sure.
That sounds like a byline, of some project. Learn the pathways of the brain of the governing. It's awesome.
There's one thing that I was just thinking about. I've been involved in partisan politics most of my adult life, and it kind of feels like beating your head against the wall and not getting anywhere. And it was just so amazing to go into these offices and hear them talk back, and have questions. Mark would say something and they'd be like, well, wait a minute, what about, and they were like intrigued by what was being said. And then, as Mark's been sending out news headlines of action that's being taken, it's cool to see how effective working the systematic politics is versus, I've called my congressman hundreds of times and felt no change, and it's great to see how effective working systematic politics is. It was a great experience.
That's awesome. Thank you, Richard. So the governing was intrigued. That was pretty cool. I mean, one of the congresswomen, I think it was Congresswoman Hangeman, she was like, where is this information? Do you have it in print so I can read it, ingest it, and re-communicate it? That was pretty intense.
I don't know. Other than not storming the Capitol, I think we did pretty good.
We learned systematic politics. We didn't storm the Capitol.
We were fixing the system, not destroying it, because it sucks. I think that tends to be the thing. It's like, something goes wrong, blame the system, it sucks, the system is evil, the system. I'm like, you don't even know what it is. It's like, we can't even agree on definition, man. We can't even all like say the same thing about the system. So why you gonna tell me we need to fix it? We can't even decide what it is.
Identify it, yeah. that's funny.
Like,
that's
come
true.
on, man.
Yeah.
We
Sounds
can't
good.
fix nothing until we know what we're working with.
That's great. That's great.
I get the assumption that it's not every day that they get someone who comes in to actually help. They usually get more ridicule, honeypots, I guess, like all the other things, whether partisan or systematic, but I don't think they get the help very often.
Yeah.
And Mike Lee even said that, didn't he?
Yeah, he said he learned something and he gave us some books. I'm like,
Yeah, he said it's not every meeting. I wish every meeting could be like this where I learn something.
Yeah, this is Glenda from Utah.
Glenda.
No worries, Glenda.
Hey.
Hi, guys.
Glenda was with us at DC.
Yes, it was amazing experience for me. On the DC trip, I don't know that we could have done anything better. I think it was very well planned. Who's going to be on the committee? We really made an effort to hit every single one of those committee members that we could to raise awareness around some of the issues of the weaponization of government. Some of those meetings were really, really eye-openers for the representatives or the senators that we met with. I think that the handout that Mark, you and Pam prepared was great. It gave them some good information. That was my first exposure to even doing something like that, so I don't really have anything to compare it to. But I will say, I feel now, coming back from that trip, more empowered for us CSG team here in Southern Utah to march up to Salt Lake City which is about a 4-hour drive, but to roam those halls up there when they're in session and start doing the same thing with the initiatives we're trying to get through. And I have absolutely full confidence in doing that, thanks to the DC trip. So if we're going again in the fall, I'm going. No doubt.
We should probably be championing the movement of your right to question shall not be infringed. Your right to question medicine, science, government, whatever it is, you know? And so that's kind of what I think we're punching at when it comes to responding to the SPLC is it doesn't matter what we're for or against. What matters is we have a right to be for or against whatever we want to be for or against. But you can call us whatever you want to call us, but if you're informing the discretion of our law enforcement and our law enforcement is going out of the bounds by taking your cues, then we have a problem.
The really cool thing is we could hear our team's voice and CSG's voice being echoed through our representation now. And so the commitments from them in terms of the REINS Act, meeting with Congressman Jordan, looking into the TSA, Matt Getz in his statement to Fox News, it's just an endless stream of positive outcomes. We planted seeds, expect to bear fruit in these next 2 years with this committee. Weaponization of the Federal Government Committee closes out their committee on January 2nd, 2025. So we have a year and a half worth of effort of things that we can do to collaborate with them, to do things at the state level, do things at the local level. And these folks are going to double down on their efforts, citing and trespassing parents and all these things. So just hope that you become aware of it, learn, educate, come to these Zoom meetings and learn how to make change in your community. I really do hope that you guys consider coming with us to DC later this year. We'll make sure the dates and times are set up again and get a chance to go see great places like that. Great chance to fellowship with each other and great opportunity to learn how the system works in Washington, DC and see that your voice actually matters and counts if you come in well prepared, systematically focused, and with a mutually self-governing team.